We're starting to stack days here at Patriots training camp. What went down in day 2? Let's break it down. Welcome in, everybody, to the Patriots training camp cast. It's Deuce, Perillo, and Evan Lazar. And guys, another day of practice here. Day 2 of Patriots training camp. I think another, pretty solid day for the offense overall. That, to me, is the headline. We want to know how Drake Maye is going to look. We want to know how these, new pieces are going to fit in around him along the offensive line and at the wide receiver position. A lot of short stuff, Paul, but they completed a bunch of passes, and a lot of guys were active.
Yeah, this is 2 days now where the ball's not hitting the ground on every other pass. So I do think there's some positive steps made offensively. The thing that I continue to say is my big takeaway is I just watch Drake Maye. I look and I see a more confident, more comfortable quarterback than I saw at this time last year. Physically, we'll figure out when the pads come on and the pass rush if everything is going to go as smoothly. But I think he looks to be in a much better spot mentally and with the offense. He looks like a different guy.
Yeah, just highlighting one player. I thought Pop Douglas had a pretty nice day. Real nice catch from Josh Dobbs. Was active. What did you see from the offense today?
Yeah, we actually posted the catch so you can go ahead and see him climb the ladder on the sideline. So it was a good catch. But I think in general, you just see the vision of Pop Douglas in this Josh McDaniels offense as that primary slot receiver and that ability, obviously with the short area quickness to get open, but also starting to get a good feel for the options of the routes that he's going to be running and, when to sit and when to run across the field and when to break out or break in or all these different variations of how we've seen that role used in the past. Pop Douglas looks like he fits the suit of somebody that could play that role, like you guys said, a lot of short passes today, a lot of kind of situational, we're going to get the ball out quickly, screens, throws to the flat. So I'm not going to come away from this practice thinking that there's a ton to glean from all the other elements of it. But at the same time, I feel like he found completions, and that's the most important thing for Drake Maye.
Yeah, you mentioned the screen passes, some dump-off passes, but it gave an opportunity to Ramondre Stevenson to have a couple plays. Travion Henderson continues to me, it looks like he just floats. I mean, he just is a fast, explosive player. Excited to see what he looks like, once the pads come on. Another thing I want to highlight, though, Paul, a little bit of rotation going on. Both sides of the ball. Some guys pulling back a little bit here and there. Morgan Moses came out again. Some rotation on the interior of the line. Christian Barmore getting a little extra work on the side. Seems like the coaching staff is taking, a proactive approach maybe to managing some of these guys' reps in the early going.
Yeah, I think it's been interesting. The first 2 days we've seen, rookie Jared Wilson comes in about halfway through the first team period, and he goes, today he went to left guard for Cole Strange, then took one play there. Then he moves inside, replaces Garrett Bradbury at center while Cole Strange comes back. And at the same time, Trey Jacobs has taken some reps at right tackle in replace of Morgan Moses during these rotations. Moses didn't really seem to know exactly why the rotation's happening, but, he understands that you need to build depth. And, he talked about last year, the Patriots had a lot of injuries on the offensive line. So the idea of getting as many guys prepared and repped on the offensive line makes a lot of sense. So we'll see if that's something to keep an eye on moving forward. But right now, I find it interesting that Jared Wilson is being given some reps early on. I think that's a good sign for the rookie.
Yeah, if you were high on him, that's a good sign, right?
I wanted to piggyback off that because this is really encouraging to me that Jared Wilson, the coaching staff is already saying we need to find a role for this kid on the field somewhere, whether it's at left guard or it's at center. And after he had a pretty limited spring, I was a little bit concerned that he was going to be too mentally behind to be able to contribute right out of the gate as a rookie. So I don't know if he's going to win a starting job necessarily for week 1, but he definitely could elevate the talent of the offensive line. A freak athlete, a really good player at Georgia last year, playing center almost exclusively at Georgia. So I would be really excited if Jared Wilson, top 100 pick, earns a starting job. That means that he is really that talented and really that good and has gone out and earned it. On your defense, though, Deuce, there are some moving parts as well today. I don't know if you wanted to get to that.
Let's hop in with Carlton Davis, who began early last week on NFI, came off yesterday, practiced yesterday, was not out there today. Some opportunities then for Alex Austin, a couple other guys to step in. We'll continue to monitor that situation with Carlton Davis. Maybe something going on there, Paul?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what landed him on NFI in the first place to to open camp when they arrived, and then by the time the first day came, he was out there yesterday and taking part. But like you said, it gives opportunities to these other guys. Alex Austin is one of them, and I thought it was interesting, and some of the nickel looks that they had when they first started rotating. Kyle Duggar was coming off the field initially, and then Jalen Hawkins was coming on, and Marcus Jones was coming on. So there's some mixing and matching. I think the secondary has an opportunity to be a strength of the team if some of these pieces can fall into place, but they're going to have to find some depth spots like Alex Austin, I meant to say, and he's going to have to give them some quality reps.
It's a little hard to discern sometimes when you're in training camp and there's so many guys rotating in and out, and you don't know like what's based on just trying to give guys opportunities, trying to give some guys, different looks, playing in different positions, those kind of things. I enjoy trying to decipher it, Evan, but it's impossible to do, and you just have to take in the totality of camp as you get going. But defensively, not as disruptive as they might have been the first day, but still, I think there's a lot to feel good about on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, the other one with Christian Barmore, I think is worth monitoring as well. He was off on the side field with a coach, trainer, kind of going through some things on his own, which is what we've seen when guys are limited and aren't participating fully in team drills. So we saw a lot more Jeremiah Farms today, and that's another one of those guys, to Paul's point, that if there's injuries on the defensive line or just rotationally, Jeremiah Farms had a nice year last year. You're hoping that he can be one of those rotational pieces to spell a Milton Williams or a Christian Barmore or a Kyrus Tonga on early downs potentially as well. So still some moving parts there. I still have really been on defense. I really liked what I've seen out of Harold Landry. And I don't know if he's getting a lot of buzz just because he's a veteran player and it's not Stephon Diggs or Drake Maye or something along those lines, but he's the first guy out there to start practice every single day by like 30 minutes this morning. I think he was out there at 9:45 and practice didn't start till 10:15. So he's a tone setter. He's somebody that I thought has practiced pretty well. Looks like he's in great shape. So maybe they are getting the Harold Landry from a couple years ago when Vrabel was in Tennessee instead of the guy last year.
Yeah, so I think that's everything I had on my list, guys. Anything else that stood out to you in this practice as we
I got a chance
up?
to see the kickers at the very end. It looked like, from our vantage point, that the rookie Andy Borregales went 3 for 4. It looked like he missed his last one wide left, and Parker Romo was 4 for 4 by most of the reports. Again, kind of hard to tell, for sure. But
windy day too.
That's what's being reported.
Yeah.
So, and we didn't get to see the kickers on opening day. We saw them a little bit today.
Some 5-second hang times for Bryce Barron, for those people that care.
Get those 5-second hang times. Well, again, 2 days in the books officially. Tomorrow is supposed to be a scorcher, guys, but don't worry. We'll be back out there at practice taking everything in, and then you can tune in shortly after practice wraps up for another edition of the Patriots Training Camp Cast.